Something kept jumping at me. Like we're
Lucy,
talking
can I
about
interrupt
how,
you? Can I interrupt you? I just realized not everybody knows who you are. Lucy Amadou, calling in from Lome, Togo. Would you like to introduce yourself?
sure. My name is Lucy Amadou. I am currently calling from Togo, but I am a Nigerian American, so from Niger and America. I moved out here not too long ago. I am part of ATF as the youth and membership lead. So excited to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I could have actually eaten this for lunch if I had made it because it's 3 p.m. here, about almost. But yeah, going back to the discussion we were having about the rate of obesity in the African American community and all of that. And I wonder, like, how much is that food or a combination of different things? Because we hear a lot about that. But on the other hand, there's also like a lot of talks and studies about how, Black folks are more resistant to a lot of things, like, in general. I mean, obviously, this is, a lot of things have been tested on us. But I'm wondering what it is because I'm looking at, I wouldn't say for the most part that there's, in a lot of African countries, there aren't a lot of, there isn't perhaps as much obesity. Don't quote me on that. I don't have like the data as much, but we do eat very similarly. In the sense of like, in West Africa, you're eating your deep fried foods, your palm oils and all of this stuff. But you see the people going back a little bit to what Anita said as well. It's, if, I mean, you would have a heart attack if you saw what these people who work in the fields, in the like, like cultivating and stuff eat. It's like ridiculous amount of food. It's all fatty. It's all fried. But for the most part, they're not obese, I guess, because of the activity. But I'm wondering if there's something else we're missing in the equation about like the health situation. Is it perhaps having to do with the quality of foods? I don't know what it is. I'm just been wondering that because, on the one hand, oh yeah, that's a good point. I just saw that. Anita, yes. I think that's my answer.
Sugar.
Yes, yes.
Sodas, candy, all that stuff is, if you have a sweet tooth, you know about it. Cakes and pies and cobblers and sugar.
Yeah.
Processed foods too. Like
Yes.
it's one, you can have the same ingredients. It's one thing if someone breaks it down in their home and it goes through some processing at home versus it being processed in a factory, right? So, and then it's linked to time too. And that's why I put capitalism there in terms of where our time is meant to be spent. Where in the US, everyone in the household needs to be out working, including our grandparents, bringing in income. It's like the cash-based economy.
Yeah.
And like, I look at my own life and it's like, I have a freezer full of frozen foods because I don't have time to make things from scratch, which is better for my daughter, for my family. Say that again?
I was saying, or ever the person who sits in Anita's house filling up her freezer with all these ingredients that her family is like.
No. I'm talking about processed foods. Like, so I think time has a lot to do with it and where we spend our time. I don't know, that's just my opinion, but I think about that a lot. All the processed foods I feed my daughter.
Anita, I'm with you. I'm with you completely. Like when I make pancakes from scratch, I'm like, wow, because I just go with the frozen pancakes, microwave them, kids are done, I'm done. Like it's efficiency, right? Or even just like packaged salad versus like buying the actual lettuce head or like spinach and doing it yourself. I think time definitely, it's this bizarre, like we're talking about people working in the field, right? And the way they're eating. But for us, like we have gotten different kinds of work and jobs and things like that. but it brought its own problems. Like there's so many things in our lives that are affecting our food choices as well. So it's, or nutrition, I should say, choices as well, because efficiency becomes the king, basically.
Yeah.
So Lucy,
I know during this pandemic,
are changing. We're seeing our diabetes rates skyrocket on this continent. You know, cholesterol, the obesity problem, and case in point, which is what Anita and I think Nana, you're saying about processed foods. I landed here in Nairobi with my son, and I was so excited to get away from, you know, oh, we're gonna be living all natural. I was shocked. They have Burger King, KFC, Domino's. Every Friday we're having Pizza Friday. You know, my son expects his Burger King. In fact, he's like, oh, I miss McDonald's. And I'm just like, what? Like, is this the continent that I grew up in? And it's just not. And so, you know, and I think, again, Lucy, it's because I moved from West Africa to this part of, you know, highly developed, highly globalized East Africa, that I'm now having access to things that we just don't have where we come from, in places like Niger or Sierra Leone or Gambia, or, you know, that's not where the corporations want to invest their money. They're coming to Kenya and South Africa. And I think, Alice, in South Africa, it must be even 10 times more than it is here in Kenya. But the continent is changing. Our health as a people is changing, and the younger people are unfortunately not in great health. I don't know, for those of you on the continent, Lisa, Priska, have additional thoughts about, you know, are we that much more healthier?
I mean, I think you could really make a point for how different things are, because especially for me, I feel like I've grown up like knowing that I can always go to Domino's for pizza every weekend with my family, and like that's just become a culture for me. It's not that much of like there's even a difference from when I was a kid to like being a young adult now. Like it's just always been there for me. So I feel like you can even like argue that in my lifetime, that's just become the norm. So it's only gonna get worse, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Valerie, you were saying something about the pandemic?
yes, since the pandemic for me, I am not working. I find myself eating healthier. I don't have any money to just go out and eat every day. So when I come home, I can still, well, we have a lot of vegetables donated to us, fresh vegetables. So I eat more fresh vegetables and little meat. And I think it's just because I have time, a little bit more time to cook, and I'm not tired all the time. And I have access now to fresh meat. So even the frozen foods, I'm not doing as much frozen foods. I'm doing fresh carrots, zucchini, apples. So when I snack a lot of times, I just go and grab an apple or orange that I've gotten, or a cantaloupe. So for me, I'm eating much more healthier. Plus, I'm more cognizant of my age. I've just turned 60, so I know I have to eat much more healthier.
Wow,
and I
it's so
see the
nice
results.
to hear some of the more positive sort of elements that are coming out of this pandemic. I would agree with you, Valerie. I also am way more healthier. One of the biggest things is lowering the consumption of alcohol, which it's like, if you're working, you know, you're out at happy hour, you're out doing this. At first, I think we were all like stressed, but I think after a while, when it's like, okay, you know, I need to take care of myself, at least for myself, I can really see more healthy, conscious decisions with alcohol. And on the continent, we've had alcohol bans during COVID. So in South Africa, they have seen direct linkages of crime rates going down, hospitals less full, so that they can focus on the COVID crisis because they've banned alcohol in South Africa. Alice, I don't know if Alice, if you have any more thoughts about, you know, some of these things that are happening in South Africa, because they continually keep putting alcohol bans in place. And they also have very high rates of gender-based violence and intimate partner violence. And I think with this alcohol ban, they're also seeing drops of the abuse and the violence towards women and girls in South Africa. Alice, now that you're there, we used to talk about it. I mean, you're living the ban now, which I'm sure is painful because I keep telling Alice, like, I'm ordering a crate. When are you coming to give me my crate of South African wine? But now that you're there, what are your thoughts about the alcohol ban?
Alice, we can't hear you.
Alice is probably on mute, running around with the boys. So yeah, if anyone has any more contributions about that. I actually wanted to go back into this question of gender, because Mama T, you did mention that all your 3 girls are amazing cooks, and I've seen it, so I know for sure. But now your family has boys and some more coming. So now that you have 2 grandsons now, a 3rd one on the way, and I'm interested in everyone, the moms, your thoughts about this too, is are the boys gonna be frying up the chicken?
Oh yeah.
Making Anita's favorite, oyster dressing, just nodding. What's gonna be the attitude towards the boys that you have in your family?
Well, I do know that, and I'm going to speak for about Tion. Tion's become quite a chef. He started it when he was a baby. We would say Tion the chef, and we would put him on his apron, and he would be in the kitchen, and he would be with us cooking. And now Tion cooks complete dinners. Sometimes his mother doesn't have to cook.
Wow.
I'm sure Zaya, who is Aaron's son, will be doing the same. And I know definitely, what we call him Aloysius, will be cooking, because the center place in the Black home is the kitchen. That's where everybody comes. And that, I think, has to be adopted again, because that's where we've lost some of our children, is that they're not in the kitchen cooking with us, and they're not sitting down for dinner, and they're not hearing about the day or sharing their day. I think it's important that, my kids were brought up that way, and I see them doing the same for their children. So the kitchen is the center of the home. The cooking is what keeps us together, keeps us fed, keeps us healthy, because we are now cooking healthier more these days. And it keeps us in tune with what's going on. And it helps us to be able to share and show the wisdom to our children. I hope that that's what I did for mine, but I definitely see it happening with them, with theirs. So.
Wow. And I think your daughter Anita here is saying definitely her and her husband have talked about this. Their boy is cooking, and his dad will teach, who is Jamaican and is an amazing Jamaican cook. So very nice. Excellent.
Hey, everyone. Hi, this is Bird, and I wanted to jump in. I was thinking about, and hi, everyone, Evelyn and everyone. It's good to see you guys, and Anita with that big baby bump. It's a beautiful thing. I miss you guys, but I wanted to jump in as well, as you were talking about gender and spending time in the kitchen. So my husband actually does most of the cooking. And so the kids have grown up with seeing a male do most of the cooking. Now that I'm retired, I've kind of balanced that out a little bit. But my son, who is 30, because of COVID, he was living in Brooklyn with his partner. And because of COVID and just wanting to get away from such a populated area, he moved down and spent a couple months with us this summer, which was amazing. And Darius is a vegetarian. And I learned, interestingly, a ton from him. So we have 2 big air fryers, and I've learned from him how to cook very quick, because they eat a lot. They spend their time at farmers markets, even in upstate New York right now. And so I've learned to cook spaghetti squash and how to fix spinach in different kinds of ways, and broccoli and eggplant and zucchini, and to whip up a meal very quickly. So it isn't taking a lot of time. And, his partner works 3 jobs. He is very busy. But I've just learned a ton, and we have continued to incorporate that and those ideas, food ideas, into our daily meals. And I'm always telling him how appreciative I am of that experience this summer. So that's just another example of kind of what our guys in the family might be doing.
I would like to say that when you ask who was the best cook in our family, it was my dad. My dad was the best cook. And before my husband passed away, when I was out working, he was the one who cooked for me every day. I would come home and have dinner ready. It wasn't the healthiest food, but he would have food for me. So yeah, men in the family are, we like to, I don't like those roles that women are supposed to cook and men are supposed to just do certain jobs. I think a black male, at least in our family, should be well-rounded.
Yeah, absolutely. This is inspiring. I mean, for myself, I learned to cook as a Sierra Leonean Gambian from both of my parents. My mom did most of the cooking in the home, but I did learn many dishes from my father, who did work full time, but I learned how to make momoda and mahal and these Sahel Gambian Senegambian dishes from my dad when my mom was working, and we spent a lot of time together. So it's nice to hear this story of, you know, I think times have changed so much. And I think as women, we have a role to play in terms of making sure that we don't instill harmful norms. So at times women force on women and girls that they should play certain roles. Like you have to be a good cook. And when I went to Spelman College, I was shocked. Here I am in a women's college. I was around all these girls that did not know how to cook. They actually do not know how to make soul food or any kind of cooking. And I was just like, wow, is this empowerment? Is this what it looks like? To have women that are just like, nope, I was not raised in the kitchen. I learned how to play the violin and I'm a mathematician and a physicist and I do not know how to cook. So I think as women, we definitely, the older generation, we have quite a role to play there as well. Mom, were you chiming in?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about what Valerie just talked about with our dad cooking. And it wasn't only him, but I saw a lot of men cooking. I mean, look at the men with the barbecues. You know, they're the barbecue kings. But my father did. I have to remind my sisters of this. My father used to make oxtail soup, and it was like the best, and something that I make today because my father taught me that. But mainly, it was my mother. My mother was the one who showed us and cooked for us and nurtured us. She just had her 84th birthday, and just to know that what we're doing today, you know, is a result of her and my father, but mainly I think her.
Wow, thank you. There's some great comments coming in. Nana saying, I think balance is important, being well-rounded, being able to care for yourself without having to eat out all the time. It does cost too much and it has health you know, shortages as well. And this should be for both boys and girls. Same with laundry. Yeah, it sounds like laundry is definitely a life skill that tends to be burdened on women and girls, and the importance of having that shared around quite a bit. I wanted to open the floor to some of you that have been really quiet. I hope we haven't been over dominating the mic here. Kelly, Nicolette, Mom, did you have any you know, more that you wanted to add to the discussion?
Which mom?
My mom.
Right.
Secret, because I'm named after my mother, as you can see, both of us are named exactly the same. The only difference is I'm Evelyn Lena and my mom is Evelyn Teresa. And so growing up, you can't tell anyone, I was called Baby Eve.
I'm Little Tina.
Little Tina, Baby Eve. So Big Mom, big Evelyn, if you have anything to add, Mom, you trained us in the kitchen how to cook, but I think our brothers were working hard in the house as well, cleaning especially, doing dishes. So really instilling balance into the household. Nicolette, Kelly, did you have, Kelly is chatting us. She says, I wasn't cooking. She says, tying a quilt and soaking this all in. I appreciated Anita's comments and the discussion about gentrification and food deserts. Nicolette, did you have something you'd like to add? Thank you, Kelly, for joining us.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Happy to join this conversation. And it's been great to hear about different ways to cook, because I think that's something that we definitely need in the, not just the African American community, but the African diaspora, how to enjoy these delicious foods without making them too unhealthy. And I was a little late unmuting myself with a previous comment about how it's changing in the African diaspora with the access to fast food and how that's impacting health. My family's from the Caribbean, and I've noticed that my younger half siblings who were raised in Trinidad and still live in Trinidad, compared to me when I used to visit relatives years ago, they've got all this access to Subway and Pizza Hut and all the American fast food places. And a couple of siblings are struggling with their weight, which was a surprise, but they're eating out all the time at these fast food restaurants, and it's not the same kind of stuff that I grew up with having the fresh food that my grandmother and aunties made. So it's interesting to see that that difference in generations, half generations, I guess. And also, back to the capitalism, the corporations plant their roots, and next thing you know, you see it's impacting the health. So it's really interesting to hear all this from different parts of the world, hear this conversation from different parts of the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicolette. And could you tell us a little more about where you're calling from and where your family is from in the Caribbean?
Sure. I'm in the DMV in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. I'm in Silver Spring, just outside of DC. And I'm a first generation American, like many people. My mom is from St. Lucia and my dad is from Trinidad.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent. Nice blend there. We haven't had a West Indian or Caribbean cooking for ATF, so.
Uh-oh, that might be pressure. I don't know if I can cook like my uncles. I heard we have someone who has a Jamaican husband, so I must admit, kind of embarrassed to say that I buy the store-bought jerk sauce, but maybe Anita and I could collaborate on making a homemade sauce, because I take the easy way.
Nicolette makes her own hot sauce.
Yes, I do.
That's serious stuff.
Yeah, trying to keep up with my uncle. I'm trying to work on my skills. But yeah, hot sauce is something I can claim.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Any other thoughts about COVID? I mean, obviously, I wanted to talk more about, what we say are the driving factors to mortality rates in the African American community that are disproportionate to the rest of the US in particular. Somehow in the rest of the African diaspora, I think the world is shocked that our COVID-19 rates are incredibly low in comparison to the rest of the world. Here in Kenya, the mortality is not even 2,000 people in the entire country, just to give a sense of the stark difference of what's happening in different parts of the continent and in the US. I would like to know more about what's going on with the vaccine and this idea of distrust within the African American community to avail themselves to take the vaccine, where the rest of the world is saying, wait a minute, we're all the poor countries, we don't have access to the vaccine. This is another form of global apartheid, where in the US, if they say the vaccine is even available, I've heard there are communities in Alabama, for instance, where African Americans don't have access to the vaccine. So I would like to know, more of your thoughts for those of you that are stateside about what's going on with the African American communities. And, I've heard Tyler Perry coming out and other leaders trying to encourage folks to go out and get the vaccine. What are your thoughts on this?
There's definitely a distrust in the medical system because there's a history in the United States where African Americans have been used as guinea pigs for several different medications and tests. There's the Tuskegee, where individuals could have gotten cured, and they use these people as guinea pigs. My sister, we were on another Zoom meeting, I think it was, where, and I forgot about it. My parents were from Mississippi, and my mother would say how a truck would come and get a group of people and take them to get some type of test and then bring them back days later. So there's definitely a distrust in the vaccine. I've had people telling me they don't want to get the vaccine. They want to see how it goes. They think that the vaccines that they might be giving African American people might have something different in it. Some people want to make sure want to be in line where they see it's given to a white person first, and then they might take the vaccine. So it's a lot of distrust in the community as far, and it's all age groups that I'm seeing, because of what has happened to us in the past.
It's just horrific, Valerie. I think many of us are just still shocked at the medical profession relying on Black and African slaves or the African American community to advance medical research. And, you know, a lot of what we benefit from today comes from utilizing Black people as guinea pigs. And sadly, you know, what are your thoughts? I mean, how do we move forward? How do we ensure that we protect ourselves? You know, on the continent, there's definite fear. There are people who are saying that even if the vaccine comes to Africa, they are definitely not taking it. And we know that there are very similar stories with the Western world and utilizing African communities.
Can I just interject a little bit about the framing around Black hesitation in the media? What we don't hear about, and I read about in the New York Times, is that, you know, young service officers in the military aren't taking it. Quite a few healthcare workers aren't taking it. So I think there's this idea that this Black hesitancy is only applying to Black people. You know, I have Latino friends who are telling me I'm not taking it. So I think there's this outsized, you know, fear mongering within the Black community. But I have a story for you. My daughter's daycare provider, Misty, who Evelyn and Kojo knows, she lost 2 members of her family to COVID last week. No, over the past 2 weeks. She was vaccine hesitant until her sister died. And now there's even more mistrust in the medical establishment because both of her family members died in the same hospital. So I think we may get to a point where people, you know, our close family and friends are dying to the point where it's like, we have to do something. Like, she was hesitant. And after her sister passed away, very quickly, she declined extremely quickly. She was like, I'm getting it. And she said she got it to send a signal to her family that this is serious. But the healthcare disparities are so wide in this country that they sent, and what's crazy is they're in Prince George's County, which is the highest income Black county in the country in terms of, you know, highest level of education for Black Americans and income. And we're still dying. But if she had gone to GW, luckily, yeah. So now, unfortunately, the gulf between trust and the medical establishment is widening because Blacks and Latinos are dying in these hospitals. Whereas if the hospital were in a white or higher income neighborhood, they would have access to therapeutics like Regeneron. You know, they are better staffed. So I think the vaccine hesitancy is real. Even within my own family, not my mom's side, but on my husband's side of the family. And we decided, like, I got the first dose and I'm pregnant at Howard University. Howard University is trying to vaccinate people, especially Black folk. And my husband was lucky enough to get it. But Evelyn, you mentioned Alabama. It's not just in Alabama, people can't get the vaccine. It's not just there, it's here too. It's in high income areas.
Here in Ward 7 and 8, the DC just put them as priority, or else it was getting tough to do it as well. A lot of the local politicians are lobbying to make sure there's, like, not just that they're there, but they're where people are and where people are going to go. Because sometimes they put these places where people aren't going to go, and people don't have transportation or have like other issues going on where they can't get to these places. And so the access thing is, I mean, access, hesitancy, right? And if people are already not trusting the system and you put all these roadblocks, it's just adding fuel to the fire. So it's really, Anita, you bring up great concerns for sure. And not in the Black population or communities, but I agree, many in the white communities also, because of some of these trust issues in the system, period. And I think we've sown a lot of this historically and in the last few years as well. So it's as a public health person, I'm just like, we were trained for this, and yet we are literally having to figure out, I work nationally, but a lot of the work, like Save the Children right now, is looking at how do we bring some of these things to like US programs and such as well, communications and how you talk to people and how do you take early adopters and help them, bring in other people and convince other people to get the vaccine. So yeah, legit concerns.
Wow.
And if I could add to that, sometimes I feel that in the Black community, we are our worst enemy, because in the Black community, we're telling other people in our family and in our community, oh, don't do it, don't do it. And although the vaccine will not prevent you from getting COVID, it will likely prevent you from dying. And so I am an advocate. I've already had the first of the 2 doses. And am I eligible for it? Nope. But you know how I got it is you have to be savvy. If you are not savvy with the internet, you are not going to be able to get the vaccine anytime soon. And that is the issue right now here in Baltimore County. If for people who are poor, disadvantaged, can't make their way around their cell phone and the internet quickly to click the buttons when it opens up, because 15 minutes later, every appointment is gone. And so that is going to be part of the problem, is how do we get this to the masses? I think that Baltimore County is doing, I will say, a C job, because it opens and closes so quickly, and the people who probably need it immediately are not going to be able to get on there quickly to get it. And it is honor system, guys. So even though they say it's only for phase 1, and if you have these other conditions, you're eligible, well, guess what? You don't have to prove that you have any of those conditions. You just have to say yes. And one of those conditions is obesity. So I know you guys might look at me and say, well, I'm not obese, but guess what? I claim that. They're not going to question me because of all of the PII related stuff and medical privacy stuff. They're not going to say, oh, do you have diabetes? Nope. You just say, I have one of these pre-existing, and boom, they're going to give you your shot. But again, if you're not savvy, that 15-minute window is going to open and close and you won't even know it existed.
I would not even give Baltimore County a C. I signed my mother up and they for the shots in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and some other places, and they were supposed to get back to us. They didn't. We took my mother to the veterans to get the shot. My mother's 84. So she should have gotten the shot, or she should have been called. And they told us not to call them. So I would even give them less than a C. I'm a vulnerable adult. I put myself on the list. I have not received a phone call either. So I'm like a lot of other people. I'm like a lot of other people, not saying that I'm not going to get the vaccine. I definitely said, what choice do I have? I have bad lungs. If I get COVID, I will probably die. So I definitely want the shot, but I have not gotten the shot. And yes, you're right. You really have to be on the internet all the time, trying to find a place, looking at the CVS's, trying to find the place to get the shot. But the other issue that we have is in Baltimore City, 15% of the white population has gotten the shot. Only 5% of the Black population has gotten the shot. And they're the people who are workers, who go to work every day. I think they should be getting the shot. That the Black and brown community, they're not. They're sending teachers to school. My sister was talking to one of her friends yesterday. Her children went to school. They end up getting COVID, brought COVID back to the family. These are still children that got it, and they were younger children. So, CDC is saying it's okay for kids to go back to school, and they're not going to give it back to their family. But she said that they had shut the whole school down. I think it was a private school, but they all got COVID. Fortunately, with her, I do believe she was a white lady because, but it still exists, people getting COVID, and children bringing COVID to family members. So.
Yeah, let me chime in on this. So I had a daughter, I had a conversation with with Anita earlier about the ethics of getting the COVID vaccine. And so I was told her, I said, well, I signed up, haven't heard anything. And she said, well, Mom, you just have to be savvy on the internet, like my friend said. You have to be savvy. And she was telling me, forget the ethics, Mom, forget that. You have to do what you have to do. And I, because of, I don't know, the way I was brought up, my character, I kind of feel a certain kind of way about doing that. But then I was walking my dog and I talked to my young neighbor. He has to be 23 years old, white guy, says, oh, we're all getting the vaccine. My mother got us a vaccine, me and my brother and my sister and my mother. And I said, well, do you all have comorbidities? He said, nope, she just got us appointments and we're going on Friday. So he got vaccinated Friday. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm going to be savvy too. And I'm going to get that vaccine for my partner and I, because we do want to get it. Earlier this week, I did hear on the news, Governor Hogan came in and he made the comment of how do we get Black and brown people vaccinated? And then again, it goes to that whole theory of mine is that, you already know how it's, remember what was happening in the summertime where white folks said that they didn't understand how Black folks felt or this, they know. It's just that it's just not in their wheelhouse to make it happen. So I think here in the United States, as Black and brown people, we have to get out there just like we got out there with the Black Lives Matter demonstrations. We have to get out there and insist and fight, because if we don't, we may not ever get vaccinated, and we may not ever educate the people who are getting vaccinated. It's all about the information and knowledge and education, which has just been, it's been really, I don't have words for it. It's an abomination in this country for Black and brown people. And it's the knowledge and the access and the transportation, all of that plays into the homelessness. You just see all of this going on, and are these people being vaccinated? Of course not. So yeah, it's an education. It's really an education.
And I don't want to jump. I'm only going to jump in for just a quick 30 seconds. I just wanted to say, I think it was Valerie who said she's waiting for a call back. They're not going to call you. And if they do call you, by the time you log in to get an appointment, they will be gone. So to Tina's point, Anita's point, you have got to be savvy. I have a document that was shared with me that tells you when you go to CVS, what time you should look, between what hours, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Walmart is at midnight. So it's like, you have to know when to go onto the sites. I live in a generally, decent community in Baltimore County, and some of my neighbors happen to be doctors. I get a text message from them at midnight saying, Bird, log in now to this site to be able to get your shot. This is what we're dealing with. You have to work your networks to make sure that somebody's calling you or texting you to say, log in now, or give them your birthday, because that's all you need is your birth date and address, and say, if you see it, sign me up. I don't care when it is, sign me up. I mean, that's unfortunately, and when I said what I shared before, it's the poor and disadvantaged, y'all, that are really, really going to suffer. If you do not have transportation, those are the ones that are going to suffer.
Yeah.
And if you don't have internet access.
Just Miss Unibird and Anita, Mama Tina, could you share, and Nana, thank you for sharing that, saying that there is a Facebook group that is helping people in Maryland to get vaccinated. What would you say are the critical steps that we need to do in order to be savvy? Like, what time of day exactly? What website? Is it multiple pharmacies? What would you say are the key steps people need to follow to get vaccinated or get an appointment?
Have a wipe on your nose.
So I have a document that was shared with me that I can send to whomever if you want to drop an email in the chat, and then you can share it. It tells you for CVS when to go online, and it gives you the website. For Giant, for Walmart, it may require that you get in the car and drive to the Eastern Shore. It may require that you go somewhere else in the state to get it. But, you know, again, you just have to be incredibly savvy, and you have to jump on it and jump on it quickly. But I'd be happy to share that.
Lisa is chatting. Please share that document to info@attheforefront.net so we can circulate it out to our listserv and our communities. I mean, my parents live in Florida. They do qualify to get the vaccine. They do not have an appointment. And of course, we know that Florida is a very unique case of what's happening there, but I think all of us need to know how to do this. I must say that I am horrified about this. There are people living in Kenya and all over the world that work for US embassies and US agencies that have access to the vaccine. I'm really shocked that they're on US soil, whether you qualify or you do not, people are struggling to get access to the vaccine. When people abroad at US embassies and working for the Department of Defense and US, I mean, they're getting access to the vaccine, even though the country they're sitting in, the people don't have access to. So, you know, Lisa has chatted those systemic issues that you all talked about in hospitals, what happens to our communities. We published an article about COVID-19, that's nothing new for Black people when looking at the maternal mortality crisis and what happens to our people and with the health structures. And please do check us out. Join us. We do create safe spaces for Black women to brainstorm strategies to improve the outcomes in our communities. We are launching a Girls of Color project that will focus on at-risk youth. So we're just wrapping this up, but you know, before we move forward, if anyone has any resources, any tips about moving forward, please do chat it here, and we'll ensure that this gets out to our communities and we're able to circulate this. I just want to first say thank you so much, Mama T, for your time and for just your family here with us. My family's here, and that includes the Pettys, the Wheelers, the Salas. It's just a blessing to have you. You're a powerful group of women, and to have your story here is amazing. So thank you so much for your time. This is an exciting conversation. We could continue, and we will, just for a few more minutes. I just wanted to pause just to see if anybody else was cooking and has their chicken ready. I have mine plated here on the China plate that I had mentioned, and I just wanted to share it. And I was curious if anyone else wanted, Donna, Susan, those of you that were cooking along, if you have.
I'm coming to your house.
Oh, good.
And so
That looks delicious.
Oh my
wow. Oh my gosh. I'm loving it.
Oh, good. Oh, you too, Eve.
Wow, Mama, look.
No, has approved. He's already.
Oh, put it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Nice.
I am, thank you, ladies.
Well, so Nana, why is yours so much darker? Like, is it the spices you use?
Sorry. So I put a couple extra things. I put chili flakes and allspice. I'm trying to remember what I put. Yeah, and I use the yolk. So I will admit, this is the first time I've done fried chicken with flour. I've fried it before, but without like coating it. And I've definitely never done the egg wash thing. So this is, yeah, I tried one. I couldn't help it. It's supposed to be for lunch, but I tried one. So I'm happy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I just wish I could like teleport myself into everybody's kitchen and eat some of this fried chicken. It looks so delicious. And Susan, my goodness, who's coming over?
So good.
But you know
what state is Susan in? I think I'm going to Susan.
I know, we're all coming for dinner or lunch. Can I fly over?
She's in Baltimore City. Susan is my sister, my sister-in-law, not with the brother anymore, but she's still my sister. So she knows soul food. And I'm glad, Susan, that you were able to come in and listen and give your feedback on all of this that's going on. Susan is a worker in the Baltimore City public school system. So yeah, she knows a lot. But I tell you, the plate that Susan has, the plate I think that Anita had, also Mama over here with all that chicken. When you're in soul food, when you had friends to come over and family and everything, you gotta feed them. So thank you for making that bunch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're eating today, trust me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So
that goes all the way back to the motherland. You can't leave without eating.
Right. So I want to thank everybody for putting up with me and doing this. This was a lot of fun, and I look forward to some more of these eating and cooking and discussion and women and Black women. It just warms my heart that we all can get together and talk about important stuff. It's really important to do. So you're my community now.
Thank you, Mama D.
Love you all.
Love you. Bye, everyone. Have a lovely day, evening. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn.
You need to bring Kojo back so he can do that.
We
So
have our
Eve-
GoFundMe link.
Eve, how do we get, like, I want to be here for all of these. This is so exciting. Like, I don't know how to get hooked up because I would love to. I will buy all the food I need to do to prep and do all that. So please include me. I'm liking everything.
Here's the trick. By signing up to one of our events, you now can't run away from us. We got your info.
Good.
And we will be blasting everyone that for our next Cooking with ATF. And we're so excited to wrap up Black History Month with a bang, with the holy grail of the African American community and have fried chicken.
It's like our 5th, right? Is it the 5th or 6th?
Our 5th or 6th Cooking with ATF. It's been really exciting. So please join us for the next one. Have a lovely, blessed day, morning, and evening.